Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. I have the incredible honor of moderating this fireside session. I want to say fireside. It feels like that's the energy we're going to bring in. Fireside session with the wind. And Jozef is going to be the person we all get to direct our questions to. It's a little bit like what we did yesterday, but I'm just the person adding a little bit of structure and time management. That's really just going to be my role. So structure-wise, something I have in mind, but this is very much co-creation, is that given that we're all feeling so much in our bodies, we've all been experiencing so much, there's a wealth of information and experiences like literally just floating in our bodies and in our consciousness. So I was thinking we could bring that forth by doing a tour de table where everybody just gets to share how you feel. What is the one thing, 2 things, 20 things has inspired you and really you feel you take away and it's transformed you? Yesterday you heard Joseph talking about the one man that changed his life. I've had one conversation in this experience or 2 conversations that has definitely impacted my life. Questions you might still have, concerns you have, whatever it is that you're sitting with, you're feeling, this is the space to share. And I was really inspired by Jozef saying that he had this ability to take information in and rewire his DNA. So I was thinking, what if we could bring all of this stuff to the table and he gets to sort of like cook it together and share something with us. So he might interrupt after each comment or question and speak, or he might wait until the end. That choice will be up to him. But the floor is ours to share. And I welcome anybody that feels called to go ahead. You have about a minute to speak, 2 minutes. I'll stop you after 2 minutes maximum.
So I was just down in the garden harvesting these beautiful fruits, and the experience I've had with the food here has been profound. I've never really experienced so much coming from the land I'm standing on and discovering how much nature can nourish us so effortlessly. So the things you put into our bodies, you know, what I eat is really top of mind for me, and I'm really curious for Jozef, you know, in what way he's played with the diet and what connections you've made, both mentally, physically.
I eat everything, and I don't create any special diet. So it depends where I would go. I would just eat what is available. I would not make a very special choices. You know, we are coming from hunting family, so we would be always eating hunted meat, and I would never feel bad about it. So, you know, for us was kind of normal to go outside and have a wild boar. You know, you kill it, then you cut a piece of branch, you put it on top of it, you spend some time there, you kind of appreciate what was given to you, then you clean the animal, you leave the inside for other animals, and then you slowly drag it back home. And then you clean the animal, you use everything from that animal for many useful purposes. And because you cannot eat it all, you share with the rest of the community the meat. What I have seen and what was so beautiful, that you eat the meat only in very special occasions. So you are a carnivore, you know, like you're really killing, but you don't kill for pleasure. You kill only not to survive, because you can also buy things in supermarket, but you kill, but you appreciate that quality that you have. So it wouldn't be on our plate every day. So it could be that one wild boar is a half a year of food in some way or another. And you know, I'm not very skilled, but people, members of my family or our friends, they could use everything from it, and that was so incredible. So that was very inspiring for me. But as diet goes, I really eat everything. I would not be blocked by eating some chocolate croissant in the morning. And sometimes people said, like, how you can eat that? And I said, I love it so much that I transform it. It does only good to me. So the question more is, because like there's how many there's at least like 10,000 books, and I don't know how many links on the website on different portals would be, how many different ways we should be or shouldn't be eating. And if one book would be really working, then we would all know about it. But it seems like nothing really works, because nothing is so universal, and we are living in a different context and different age. And so I think we could be educating ourselves more in trying to understand how we function, and therefore changing our diet depending on how our metabolism is changing, how much activity, mental or physical, or how good is your sleep, or was your stomach bad, so maybe you don't eat in the following days, etc. I think that is the place we are the weakest. And therefore, I would be much more promoting or suggesting that we study ourselves more in context than testing what would be best for us. Yeah.
I guess in my own experience, just like I'd pay attention to what's happening to my body physically, dynamically, there's this, and also the similar relationship with the organs of my body. And food, how much, and when I eat it, and how it's sequenced does seem to play into this complex dynamics. Mm-hmm. And so I'm recently finding myself more interested in trying to figure out how things connect together. Mm-hmm. George and I had some interesting discussion just before walking up here about how the different flavors seem to be timed through the gut from when you eat them, and how those flavors translate to different qualities of mind and physicality, energy in the body.
Maybe George can tell us. He knows a lot.
So Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, and the medicine of the people of South America, it's earth, air, water, fire, space medicine. Sounds kind of crazy, huh? But when I've looked into it, I realize it's a great way of describing nature. So everything happens in space, then everything in the universe that goes out, light, heat, radio waves, X-rays, sound, this is all fire pushing out. Everything that draws in, gravity, magnetism, electromagnetism, the way that water dissolves and accepts things, this is called water. And the movement between these two polarities is air. And it's all acting on the stuff, the matter, the earth. So these now elements have corresponding tastes and corresponding ways that they're expressed in our bodies and our minds. And as our digestion process unfolds, these tastes, which have corresponding energies, are absorbed in a certain sequence. And as they're absorbed into the body, they start to come onto the mind as well, and you'll notice that your quality of thoughts will be expressions of that type of energy. So when you have a nice lunch, let's say, the first taste that's really absorbed is a sweet taste. And the sweet taste would be corresponding with the earth element. And the earth element would give you that satisfied, calm, grounded feeling when you have enough of it, you're steady. But too much and you get lazy. Now as the food moves from the stomach, where the earth element is absorbed from, you get into the small intestine, and that's where like the fire is in Chinese medicine or Ayurveda. And in the fire part, we have the absorption of the fire tastes, which is pungent and a sour taste. And in this phase of our digestion, you'll notice, if you pay attention, it's very subtle. But as that starts to get absorbed into the plasma and into the circulating in the system, you're going to be a lot more decisive. You're going to be a lot more like even impulsive. You're ready to take action, do. And if you have too much pungent and too much sour taste, it kind of overwhelms you in a wave. And you'll feel that if you pay attention. The secret is to pay attention. And it will come on, and you'll find that maybe you're overly aggressive, or you're in traffic after that lunch meeting, And that food has now gone from the stomach into the intestine, and that Mexican food with that spiciness, it's giving you a little bit of frustration in this traffic. I want to get out of go, come on, red light, ugh. You know, this is no coincidence. This is it's corresponding with the food that we just ate. And the biggest input into our system is our food. And what you put in the body, you put in the mind. And then as your food continues into the large intestine now, you have the absorption of the air and space types of subtle energy. And this corresponds to a bitter and astringent taste. And when this now starts to come on in a wave as it gets absorbed into the plasma and circulates in the system, it gets in the mind. Because as it gets into the blood, it gets into the brain chemistry. Brain chemistry is your mind. And in this time of the digestion, you'll notice that if you pay attention, you're going to have a mind that is less able to focus. There's going to be some movement, some indecisiveness. Maybe even if you have had too much bitter taste, you might have anxiety. And in the same way that when we eat a big meal, we naturally want to counterbalance the sleepy feeling of a full stomach with a little bit of bitter taste from the coffee. That's to counterbalance it. When you have enough, it's movement. Movement of the mind is creativity, it's sensitivity, but too much becomes anxiety and neurosis. So when you eat, you can pay attention to this input. And it's fascinating to realize, like, wait a minute, that's not coming from me, that's coming from the input I just put into my system.
I would add to it when I was working with Olympic champion in judo. He says, I don't care what I eat, I win anyway. That was a funny thing, you know. On one way, we build up that sensitivity for food, and that consciousness is incredibly important, especially in a time of difficulties, right? When you're healthy and everything goes right, you don't care. It's only when the problem starts, you start to search for the solutions. But when he was in his peak, he says, food cannot influence Mar. Just drink Coca-Cola and souvlaki and I'll be still world champion. And so it was. And so it's, so I would always incline to hear what George said, and I want to learn more and more about it. On the other hand, I know many people have not enough sensitivity to feel it and can override it with something else.
What's the something else you think?
Is that your question?
Yes. If they override it with something else, the sensitivity. Just anything.
Do you want to perhaps ask another question? Oh.
How many people do you find start with fighting monkey and are enthusiastic coming out of day 2 and then say, I'm going to buy the bells or your tools, and then you never hear from again? Then how many people are coming back? Like, how's that working for you as you're developing fighting monkey?
We only observe what is happening now. So we have someone had a look on the statistic on how many new people and how many returning people, and it seems like there is a really high percentage of returning practitioners. So we would be, maybe the rate would be 60-40 or 70-30. So 70 returning, 30 new people. Mm-hmm. I was saying yesterday that I don't try to make you over excited. So if you feel it at that moment, so it usually lasts for a little while. So if you felt excited, you're gonna come back. If not, you will never return back. You know it wasn't for you.
Yes, please.
On day 1, I thought this wasn't for me. After day 2, I knew this wasn't for me. And then I had this really fascinating conversation with Evan, and I realized that something that I was missing in myself was the beginner's mind. And because I didn't have it, everything about your training frustrated me. I couldn't get good at any one game. By the time I put all of my effort and energy into learning it, we moved on, and nothing made sense. And so I was really frustrated and disappointed about all of it. I just didn't get it. But in the last hour or two, I've been really thinking about the beginner's mind and how this is truly a life-changing art form that you're bringing. And it can only be learned through discovery and through a curiosity to want to learn it. And I don't have a question, but I wanted to say that today you gave me a reflection, an accurate reflection of where I am with my body. And it was brutally honest, and I didn't like it. And that's why I had such a terrible experience with everything. But from the beginner's mind perspective, like, I'm so fucking stoked to work on it and to just get better. I'm 26 years old, and I feel like sometimes I'm 46 years old with my body, and I feel very grateful to have met you and to have learned from all of you, because this, I believe, will be the shift that I need to truly change my life. So thank you.
I feel like the stakes are so high. We don't realize how high the stakes are. Like, this is your quality of life. Like, you don't really live in your house. You live in your body. You don't really get around in your car. You get around in this. This is your real vehicle. Why have a fancy car or a beautiful, expensive house if you have a really weak, sick, lame body? Have your priorities right, you know?
100%.
It's amazing what you say. I'm thinking about it all the time, to be really honest. Like, what do I deliver? I don't want to deliver a ready product. I don't want you to feel good. This is not my role. This is not the role of my life. I just have the feeling like we have to offer each other a mirror. That's what it is, and many people are frustrated. And I'm most of the time in my life I'm frustrated. I don't remember that anyone would place something easy in my life in front of me that I would accomplish in 2 days. But I could get inspired and start to work on something. And yes, the whole purpose is to confuse. It's part of the game. It is part of the game. This is deliberately chosen. You know, the coordinative work is tough. People usually are being freezed by it. And then you have to ask, like, okay, are we moving? Because if you are moving, you might not get really exactly what I'm doing, but you get a more or less an idea what's going on. If not, means you are moving very little in your life, the little variability. And you know, if your body cannot dance, you are in a serious trouble. The dance is the highest form of human expression, the highest. We don't dance much because we feel awkward, and it got related to maybe some rituals, or it got related to some aesthetics or whatever, but dance is ability to become rhythmical, to attune yourself, to create a dialogue, to attune yourself to emotion of someone else or a group. And if we don't have that variability, that capacity to communicate with our body, create variabilities, stay creative in difficult situations, we are in trouble. If I propose a coordination and you freeze, like you half of the group freezes, I know something is going on in your brain. Something could be better, right? It's not bad or anything, because you can live without any coordination in your life. But coding things in 4-dimensional space and learning it in 4-dimensional space, I feel it's very valuable and can extend the quality of the life, I believe.
And very quickly, learning in 4-dimensional space means learning
In time space.
in the moment.
Through movement. For example, what we were doing in coordinations, I always give the same example. I mean, I think I said it 1,000,000 times. So we were teaching 2 different groups. So one group would be learning coordination step by step. I told you 1 step, you get it. Add the 2nd step, get it. So 1 and 2 together. 1 and 2 and 3, acquire 3. 1 and 2 and 3. Then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So I'm deciding for all the students the learning methods, right? There is only that one that I offered. And I know it's efficient, it's really good. Everyone is learning super fast. Everyone is happy. There's instant happiness. After every single class, they are happy. I learned something. This is incredible. I have a great feeling about it. There is a second group. In that second group, I just show what I showed to you. And I'm still very kind to you because I still explain, I slow down. But to the other group that we've been teaching, we simply did show the full complexity, and we let the students be. It was their and only their problem if they're going to make it or not. Not our problem. We are not making it too easy. Of course, we are not against the students, but we can show slower, but not too much analyzing. So this group is really frustrating, and it's learning so much slower than the first group. It's uncomparable. The first group, happy people, smiling, everyone is attuned, everyone is advancing. It's a very gentle learning curve. The first one, it seems like they are not only doing a cliff, they do they do this thing, you know, like they're hanging like, oh, they fall, they fall. And they all go, like first goes up and he finds out how to pass over the cliff, and he shouts to other people, I found out that, you know, like you have to put your foot there. And so where did you put the foot? Please help. So it's a little bit, it's this kind of, am I going to make it or not? This kind of situation in the second group. So you go back and you add the variability, because life is about variabilities, right? Because it's ever evolving, changing circumstances in your life. Nothing stays static. The first group is still waiting for an instruction of the teacher. So you still offer it. So we give them more. You dope them. You make them addictive to a very nice, easy learning method. Someone piles it and package it in a perfect way. Still, there is some kind of homogeneity in that group. There is no variability at all. Everyone is a soldier. When you make a video at the end of the class, it looks like, wow, they're making an amazing progress. You make a video of the second group and it all looks, oh my God, that's a mess. What these people are doing there. When you offer the variability to second group, they are a little bit more independent. They don't wait for a teacher to tell them everything. They're starting to figure it out by themselves. So they have in a pocket at least 6, 7 different ways of learning. The first one is only with that one that teacher gave them. The second one has a huge variability and diversity. And you know that diversity is good immunity. So you have a forest that has the same type of tree, same age. Comes one buck and eats the whole forest. There is no immunity. It all dies instantly. Only what the guys that are taking care of the forest, what they do, they just have to cut it off before it spreads everywhere. It reminds me like a chemo. Or it reminds me something really radical, like amputating the trees. It's so violent. Because my father is also taking care of the woods. So we went to another opposite hill. And we've seen this monolithic, beautiful one type of, it's also appealing to see only these pine trees thing. And he says, look, these areas, these gray areas, these are dying trees. If we don't carry them early enough, it will spread all over the hill. And it will have to go all down. Then you have very diverse forest with different type of trees, different age. So when the buck comes, destroys only one particular aspect, and the biodiversity solves the problem. So this would be the second group. And as we adding variabilities, and I never allow them to feel that they have it, because as soon as they have it, I'm changing it. So they are learning to feel good with uncertainty and feel good with failure. So they are much more immune in their daily life when something wrong goes on. They will find a variety and strategy to survive. The first group doesn't seem to have that variability in their life. I mean, probably in academical research we would really have to put the data together, but I have seen so many groups, and it seems to be always the same story. Take the groups, explain everything, very homogenic. Don't explain anything, and people start to talk. People talk between each other. Please tell me how you got it. What was the first arm? I say, oh yeah, he has the first arm. He has the third arm. The other has all the second halves, and they all combine together and they start to work in the groups. Because I used to say, in the first group, I say, I am the central person in that knowledge. I am the master. I am the pillar. And all the students are around. And in a second group, you say, oh, pick up people and teach it between each other. And suddenly the authority is distributed. There is no one central person around which the knowledge would be organized. It's collective knowledge. And it supports the dialogue. More frustration in the beginning, but so much benefits in the long run. And so if you are frustrated, I can only be happy. I can only be happy. So that's my narrative around it. And you know, you don't have to feel flow in every single workshop. And it's so nice to hate something. I like that. And I like that honesty. And yes, it's not for everyone. It's not supposed to be for everyone. Why we should make always something that everyone likes, it becomes popular. Why you always have to create a business model that can grow and everyone likes it? No, it's not always for everyone. And we have to understand and be happy about it. It's so beautiful. We are diverse, people are different. And it's so beautiful when you have a group of people that can think for themselves. My students can think for themselves. Oh, I can learn something from them. I'll be 60 years old, they will be solving problems for me. Imagine that I'm 60 years old and I will still have to carry the knowledge. And everyone will look at me like, please answer me. And I will be waiting, I will have very heavy backpack. 60 years old, do I have to answer all the questions? No, I said within 7 years, I will create army of intelligent, independent people. So I sit back and I say, you do the job and you better do it better than I do. What we want from our students, or what I would love from my students, I want from my students to become greater than we are. I don't want my students to be worse than I am. Which kind of knowledge I'm sharing? This is very important for me. So I'm considering you be my child. I don't want my child being always in my home. I want my child to have enough of independence. At one point he goes and says, I go to discover the world. I need to feel it for myself. And I say, yeah, goodbye, that's great. And if you need me, I'm here to still support you. But I don't want to have you underneath my wings all the time, because you become dummy. Yeah, that's what I have to say about it. Thank you.
Yeah. So amidst the value of adaptability, versatility, and those types of things, I find coming to trainings of this nature and making relationships with people that really I take a lot of it home. Not the games necessarily or anything of that nature, but that type of push to not give answers and create a better question most of the time. So as we continue to train in our own ways and seek answers that are not getting answered, is that kind of a value that you developed through just personal practice, or was that the same type of treatment from your instructors and things like that kind of threads into your teaching style and way you educate?
It must have been, really. I don't know. I would really love to give myself credit, but I feel like I am through the other people, right? I cannot really trace who is responsible for what, but I find a lot of independence even studying Chinese medicine. It's not like I have to read everything in the books. I don't have to know all the traditional forms. There was something that worried me really a lot. So I'm practicing with one master for a really long period of time. And this is just it's not real, but it's a good story to tell. And you have your arms like this. And for some reason you have to visit another master. And he says to you, show me the form. And you show this and he says, wrong. The arms are not like this. These two fingers are interconnected. And you go, oh. So 10 years are lost. So the energy wasn't traveling before, right? So you're lost. It's all gone. You come to a third master and third master says, oh, it's not these two fingers. It actually has to overcross, because if it doesn't overcross, there is no relation between palm. There's no relation between this part and this part. And you say, oh, another 10 years lost. So then you have to think, wait a minute, so am I attaching myself to, because this is really what is happening. And I would meet one master that I would show him what I'm working on, and he says, wrong! Turn yourself to the wall and train against the wall. So he would make me like he would be training other people, and he would make me to turn towards the wall, and I would have to practice alone by myself. I said, wow, that's really great. So I said to myself, no, I don't allow anyone do this to me, no matter what kind of master that is. I will become independent. I will start to decode myself. So every time I meet someone, I say, you decode it for me. I'm not interested in your judo. I am not interested in your judo. I want to know the mind of that person that have created the judo. Explain me what judo is in essence. I don't want to know a technique. I don't want to know how you throw me, how you sweep me. This is no interest for me. Explain me what was in the mind of that person. And then it's very difficult to get these layers out of the people. But then eventually they come to an idea and they start to tell you, well, look, this is a balance. And if I see that you, and this is, and suddenly, yes, it's about observation, sensitivity. It's about being soft. It's about listening. It's about reading the partner, creating a rhythm. It's so primal and it's also so true in relation to biomechanics. And therefore you can start to be a creator also. In some way, you can revolutionize what is happening. It doesn't mean that you have to rediscover America. It's not true. Of course, you can. If we are building on the chain of masters that have been before you, so if you go to study judo, you better work with people that been studying for so much time. Nevertheless, your obligation is to decode it. Or obligation of the teacher is to keep his students independent so they could improve the art. Yes, I know there is a master. Maybe you've been born and you can improve it. Maybe you can make one step forward. Ilias Iliadis, he said, this is not a judo. This is my judo. It was his particular poetry that he gave to a judo. And that's what I like very much. And it doesn't come from arrogance or pushing the masters away. No, this is embracing masters and giving them a good credit that he was an amazing student, an amazingly creative mind. That's what we have to do. No, we don't have to do anything. It's only if you like to do it. There is no obligation for anyone. What you could not do in the training, explain me what was so troubling.
I think you.
Here's a 7-point.
Yeah. No, you summarized it really well.
No, but what was practically, what was the biggest challenge?
I didn't understand why I was doing it. What I mean is, if I were to go to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Tristan, okay, it's all really hard, but the goal is I'm going to become really good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Black belt, I'm learning these tools and techniques. I didn't do any research for Fighting Monkey, so I thought it was kind of like a hip-hop dance class at this. Something like that.
It is kind of hip-hop dance class.
But we just started doing games and exercises, and at first I'm like, I can't do these games and exercises, I'm really bad at this. But I kept not understanding when I go home, what do I do? Do I just train these exercises? What's the end vision? I'm a mover? Like, what's the art form? And so I couldn't really connect what you were teaching, what martial art. And so looking at movement as a way of life, independent of exercise, but more of like, do you move in your life? Dance, yoga, running, whatever. That totally reframed what you were doing for me. And I wish now I could go back in time and take your training. I'd do it very differently. I would just care more about it and try harder. Be more open with the fear of failure and discomfort with uncertainty. But now I just have the takeaways.
Very nice.
When we were doing this cross, what was that thing about? What do you think? We were doing this cross, we were doing these walking patterns, this pivoting. Could it be a martial art? Could it be a boxing training?
Definitely. I think you demonstrated that well.
Yeah. But could it be a folk dance? If we would talk about philosophy, like orientation in north, south, east, west. So I'm calling you. Tell me your name again.
Michael.
Michael. And you are walking one direction. Michael. 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 This is very important. Your knowledge around the space, how you are mapping the environment with your body. It's not only Michael, but there's the impossibility to communicate that way. It's complicated position. So even on philosophical level, that could be kind of mapping. Then what if I would ask you, could it be a memory training?
100%.
Perfect. So you see, I am interested in that blurriness that could unify those different forms. So everything has form and a name, but what is this formless, nameless thing? That's what I'm interested in. You know, when you are a child, do you know particular for what you are learning? Like what is that particular amazing purpose? No, it's everything and nothing. And there's this amazing excitement from learning. I know at one point in our life we have to decide maybe what we are doing. But I'm still doing, and I think it's still successful. I'm still really not sure who I am. And for some people, this might feel overwhelming or scary. But there is this openness to new opportunity every moment you meet. You know, I thought I'm gonna be a professional basketball player, and I was going very well in the direction. I played 2.5 years, and I was selected for junior national team. And I really could not play basketball. I was just so amazingly aggressive because I wanted to be there. No one can call me. I was a horrible player, horrible. I was the worst of everyone, but I was just a pit bull. That's what I liked about me. That's how I made it there. So I thought this would be my path. But at one point, I didn't want to lock myself in it. I said, wait a minute, we don't play such a good basketball in the world. I love it, but we are not as good at it. So I said, what would be easier in my life? I said, acting is much easier. I am just myself, and I'm gonna be liked by others. They're gonna clap me. So, you know, and then you go into acting, and
then you go into acting. Most people just leave it at that point.
and I go into acting, and I realize this is incredible, and I'm into it, guys. I'm in it, as much in it as in basketball, and I find it, this is like a basketball. I just have to act it better. I have to pretend that I know it. So it's all the same for me, right? So I'm floating from this sport into art, and then I go. I got a role being in the second year of university. I got a role in a very small role in a national theater, and that's an honor, right? Because you're gonna be next to these superstars. And they are superstars. They are half gods because they are in TV, in cinema, and they do amazing stuff. And so the director brings the text, and we knew which role we have because this you're gonna get in a paper before, so you know. So you already prepare it, so you highlight your dialogues, and we do a first reading. And I'm with all these great actors, so my ears are like this, like an elephant. I will learn everything now. And I listen, they read it first time, and it is incredible. And I say, wow, they read it for the first time, and it is so incredible, something is wrong. If they can get it with first reading, what is the challenge? So we went into another play, and I experienced it again. They read it once and they are amazing. So I said, wait a minute, so there must be a kind of matrix in it. They must understand something really fundamental. And to my understanding, and they might be listening to this, I thought, every second month they do 4 weeks rehearsal and they come up with something really incredible. And at the end they end up doing all the same thing all their life. And I said, do I really want to do that? Can this transcend into something else? Not a leaving acting. I didn't leave basketball when I went to acting. So from acting, I said, could I do something that would be more demanding, more creative? Yes, let's do physical theater. Physical theater would be when I can sing, maybe act, maybe dance, maybe lift objects like in a circus play, maybe manipulate objects, maybe sculpt on the stage, maybe I do performing arts, maybe I do gallery installation where I'm moving big stones around. And they'd say, wow, this doesn't have language. I can talk to anyone in the world, and it moved into something else. And that search for a novelty, that search, that uncertainty, that thing, I decided something for myself, but is it really it? Allow me to kind of, in each art that I pass through to kind of transform into something new. And it is not narrowing down, it's opening up. And it gives me great possibilities of variation. So when someone would call me now, I have a radio play for you. I can come back and I play a role. Or if someone says, Jozef, would you like to dance in my piece? I say, yes, sure I can. Or someone says, could you be an actor? Yes. Do you think you could help us with the hockey players to prepare a better athletic program? I say, yes, I can. and someone says, oh, I've seen you working on that breathing patterns. Could you explain me what's going on? Yes, you can practice with me. It gives you great variabilities. And I think our ancestors were doing all those crazy things. I don't think there was only one person that was doing one plant and another person that was doing only and only working with the wood. We could do many things. Of course, there was someone who was the best in that thing, but we got kind of overall understanding what world could be and how beautifully we could embrace that idea. Yeah. It doesn't mean that everyone has that path, but I like to inspire people, maybe open that little door. I can teach you that one particular thing for Jiu-Jitsu maybe. Or I can teach you then one particular thing for becoming a better dancer. But I think these 2 days meetings are to inspire each other, not to learn something from each other. It's nothing that you put in your pocket and you go home. I'm not interested in owning anything, but I'm interested in meeting you and testing where you are. Of course it's super frustrating, but that's what it is all about. Life is about it. Every day you're a little bit maybe frustrating, unless you want to keep your world very small.
May I ask a question? So for me, I'm really interested in how fighting monkey translates into life. And a lot of the challenges that I experience in my own life and I experience a lot of people experiencing is with fear. And you're talking about how you've managed to go from one thing to the other, literally follow your passion, your calling. And a lot of people, a lot of us, myself included, there's a block there because there's fear of just sort of like throwing yourself in. So can you help me just sort of think through the practice, that variability, variability and the richness, and at the same time the fear that can block us?
I don't have an answer at all. I have no idea. And don't think I have no fear. I have a lot of fear, but because I have a fear, I try. It's very difficult for me at my age to start to learn with someone else, something new. I feel exposed, but I'm still doing it. So I am full of fears. I don't know how many fears I have, but it's maybe they're not overwhelming. But don't think that I have a quiet sleeping. There are many nights that I do not sleep, and I'm cooking. I'm cooking. I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I already see Linda's face because she wakes up and she says, "Oh, this guy's in trouble." I like to be in trouble. It wakes me up. There is something that wakes me up. I say, no, I don't want to be fresh in the morning. I want to solve the trouble. It's more important than a good sleep. So I go out, my stomach is wrong. I'm sitting in a kitchen. It's this ugly light when you see the darkness outside. Everyone sleeps, you're awake, it's all wrong. What is it, you think the world is small. And you start to articulate it, start to think, you cannot solve it. You go back, sleep, you're so tired, you sleep, you wake up, you wake up more troubled. Because of course you're tired, you didn't sleep. The day passes through, you kind of make it. You drink maybe coffee, some people make you laugh so you can pass through another day. You survive that day. Next day, you fall asleep, you're tired. You open your eyes, say, fuck! 3:30, it's not 2, it's 3:30, so it's like, okay, you manage 1 hour more. And you stand up again, and you go and again. Then you write it, and you say, I still can't get through it. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? It's beautiful. It's incredible. Being in a fear and solving your troubles, it's part of life. I don't want it being smooth. That is for me more valuable, but almost, I don't want to say more than a health, but if something has to be solved, it has to be solved. Even if you don't sleep 5 days in a row, that it must be done. You have no other option. And so you better put yourself in action, try to see what's going on. That was like a great revitalizing experience always for me. My immunity went a little bit down, but then it was a great boost. I could go for another year. I would be indestructible. I felt like a Hulk because there was a trouble that came and I somehow managed. And don't think I managed everything perfect. I have many losses, many losses. And business-wise, I try things. It's not an easy to come with a speed tool. It's something new. I think it's right. I think I'm totally right. I think 10 years from now on, people will understand. I think I understand. I'm sure I can increase the life of an athlete. But it's not easy to come in the market with an innovation. This is not like I improved skipping rope. You say skipping rope, and you say, yeah, I know what is skipping rope. So it's better skipping rope, let me buy it. No, this cost me a lot of money. lot of money to come up with it. You know, I had to pay this thing, they have to twist it, they have to burn it, everything goes wrong, it's wrong. But I feel, yes, I need the low weight, I need a recall, how I can help. And then you come to a workshop and you understand people are not understanding what you're doing. It's difficult. It's very difficult. But you still do it because you think it's right. And you don't care. I know I'm right. It's like that woman that she was in a scientific society. She said, I see the DNA of plants being reshuffled. And they all laughed and they throw her away. 40 years later, someone came and said, she was right. Or we rather go back to her and tell her. And they come back to her and tell her, you were right. And she said, oh, it doesn't matter. I just have to do what I have to do. Very powerful. Like when we were talking about painters. Some painters were painting all their life. This is only what they could do. No one ever told them their art is good. Still, they could not do anything else. So there is always a fear. It's not my life. It's not. I am not always happy. But I have somehow enough of resources, enough of friends, enough of partners. If I feel troubled in my mind, well, I call Michael and we wrestle, and suddenly I feel more happy, and it gives me an extra fucking 15 minutes to go on. So I am dependent on the great people around me. You know, when I really cannot do anything else, I didn't sleep well, but I start my morning with a great fighting monkey class and boxing class. And 3 times you get hit on the face and you go like, yeah, here I am back. I made it again. So it is incredible. And so you slowly pass through it. It's not like there's only success. There is much more unsuccess than success. But what we want to show other people how great we are, so we only tell a successful story. We say only success. But there's so much shit going on you cannot imagine. There's not like it's a harmonic relationship with my wife and things go wrong. Because it's taking toll on you. When you feel like things are going wrong, you start to be nasty to other people. And these other people would say, hey, okay, it's not the end of the world. Maybe it's not for you. You are not the one who is going to crack it. And you go like, oh, okay, I forgot. Because when you get burdened by the trouble, the world becomes small. And you cannot solve it, but the other will solve it for you. They look outside and say, Jozef, the world will be turning around while you are still dying. And you put it in a perspective, oh, thank you very much. So you can pass through another day. So no fear, a lot of fear. So all those transitions were not easy, sometimes financially. And most of the time when you risk, you gain more. I always gain more in some way or another. Yeah. I always learned the best when I was humiliated. And I mean humiliated means that I felt like I was totally exposed. And there were many occasions like that, many occasions. But it didn't shut me down at all. It didn't shut me down. No one can shut me down. I always needed a little help of other people. It's so valuable. You need to surround yourself with the people that can help you. Negative or positive, it doesn't matter. I was once on the stage, I was struggling. Someone was, I don't know who that was, they were just watching me. And they said, Jozef, Joshko. So I come down, what? There will be 500 people watching you. Yes? And I say, yes. They are all lions. If you don't wake up, they will eat you. I say, okay. Yeah, I don't want to be eaten. So I come on the stage and I say, I'm gonna eat you all. Oh, I'm so powerful. There is no. You can be 1,500. I will be not shitting in my pants. It was, and again, it was help of other people. It wasn't me. He gave it just an idea. He gave me an image. Gave me a metaphor. Gave me a poetry. Didn't give me technical explanation. Didn't come like, try your voice a little bit stronger. What if you could stand more straight? It doesn't help to no one. Science doesn't help in that way. There is only like another human being comes with a good image, good story to tell that can inspire you. He didn't tell me what to do. He didn't tell me technique. There was no technicality in it. There was an inspiration. I had to solve it myself. I had to go home and find out what it will make me not to be eaten by these 500 people. And if I didn't make it, then good riddance. It wasn't for me. Then it's better if I change the job.
I have a question about training. you were speaking today about developing different patterns, so you have many options in the moment. And you described when training a new pattern, you might do it a number of times until it felt natural, and then you'd move on to the next one. And it makes sense to me to have patterns in the body that can arise when you need them. But there's also this other kind of thing that happens when you're in an unpredictable situation and you discover something new, a pattern that's not there because the situation has demanded something new. So I've noticed in your training there's definitely a balance, of working on a form and then also doing things that have a formless nature like grappling. Yeah. I'm just curious, like your experience and how to manage that balance and how much form to do.
You need a sub-base. Sub-base would be bipedal understanding of human motion. It's a super simple thing, so it would be standing, sitting, squatting, walking, running, jumping, pushing, pulling, twisting, throwing. These would be the basics. You have to understand those quite well. You have to understand them so well that when an absolutely critical situation comes, your body will perform those actions automatically. Now, after you have that very basic pattern, it's a lot of things that I named. That's why, let's say in our fighting monkey training, the bases are taking years. But you create such a good sub-base that when the critical situation comes, your body will not freeze. Your body will react by moving, by shifting the weight, by putting the head in more appropriate position. And then in a specificity of your context means that you might be firefighter, or you can be a policeman, or you can be a teacher, or you can be an athlete in some particular sports. So the sub-bases are there and they give you enough of potential to adjust to new variabilities. So everything, all those bases, they have to be very well imprinted. So this is dogmatic. I don't allow you to not understand where is your axis. I will not let you breathe. I'll be ugly to you. Once you get that, I give you a freedom. But only if you have those bases. If you don't have the bases, then if I ask you to rotate, if I don't see that clear biomechanics there, I will not allow you to do anything else. I will not want that you do cartwheel. I don't want that you do handstand. I don't want that you do anything else. I want that you learn how to walk like a human. And what amazing variabilities you there for throwing, jumping, kicking, grappling with other people, manipulating objects, manipulating other human beings to help them, to heal them. And that is something that must be super imprinted, so it doesn't leave you. It doesn't leave you even when you're 80 or 90 years old, 100-year-old. So when you're 100, you still be walking in axis. You will be not bended somewhere and having a trouble to walk. This is what I'm aiming for. And then within your context, whatever that context is, and that context that I will never ever understand, you find variabilities upon those bases. If you like what we are doing in Fighting Monkey, let's say you will do zero forms and your joints will be healthy with this particular way as we are doing it, I will be sharing that with you. If not, it's fine. We are just sharing principles. If you like how we learn the striking forms and how boxers could improve their reaction and their recoil, I will share this particular training landscape with you. If not, I just share with you principles. Then if in grappling you like our games and how they could improve your grappling in your top sport, I give it to you. If you like our dancing, we will give you a whole dancing training. But if not, we just share with you what dancing is about, how it was in different cultures. I think we set it up quite interesting, the 6 block, which is zero forms, striking forms, body forms, tribal dancing, sculpting, and storytelling. I think that would be a very nice proposition for kids to learn something new. So when we are working, I will give you a fixed pattern, right? Something that I feel it's fundamental. But next thing that we're gonna work on, we have to test them, how they settled in. Then we return back again, refine them. Then we test them. And we test them sometimes through grappling, sometimes through like a larger distance between the partners, sometimes working with the object, sometimes in discussion, etc. So this would be the variation. And it always varies from the group to group, or what is their particular interest.
I think I have another question that came up while you were speaking. I've had this experience multiple times where, in training, something happens and your response is not very helpful, like it's like a bad pattern, but it emerges out of nowhere. Perhaps it's like it's triggered because it's similar to another movement or another situation, but you execute this pattern in a traumatic situation and then it gets like hardwired in. So I'm curious about your strategy around pruning these things.
If it's something similar to what they would describing in a post-traumatic stress disorder, in a very small, degree or really huge, rewiring is extremely complicated. And it has something to do with the speed of practice. Speed or slow motion. The duration within which you try to rewire, inhibit, or change the behavioral pattern or movement pattern. There are not that many, but there are several different possibilities how to do it. And they are always very dependent on the context. And you need other people, so you cannot do it alone. So it again comes to having someone who can be around you for a certain amount of time, making you more aware about the things, and allowing you to rewire. Stop you when there is a problem, reverse, come back. So you say, oh, I'm always having this problem. Oh, no, don't worry. You don't have it always. You have it only sometimes. They help you to change the language. Oh, it's only sometimes, it's not always? Because I thought it's always. Like you can kind of blocking your development just by how you choose the language or how you're reacting to situations. And it's very good that you can be surrounded with people that can help you to go through it and find the right this kind of alchemy within which they would open up or change that reaction in a new circumstances, even if the previous experience could have been traumatic. Also, to a certain extent, if it's very traumatic, you might never get rid of it. You can just deal with it better in your life. You can tell another story around it. Yeah. But I can imagine some things are so traumatic that unfortunately, it might be a very complicated process for the rest of your life.
Right. I guess I've experienced a spectrum, so something that's extremely traumatic, then, that gets wired in more strongly than something else, but there could be another experience where there's a lot of intensity. And again, it's a relationship between the intensity of the experience and how it gets wired in. But, which makes sense to me. I guess the thing that I find the most frustrating is, this happens, and then you go through a process to find another option when you're triggered, and which is to tap into the, more useful pattern or movement or adaptation. But the other thing that you created is still there in some way. There's a vestige that remains. It's like a ghostly imprint in your mind, and it never seems to really totally go away. Is this in your experience at all, or?
Yeah, it doesn't have to go away though. It's a part of the bigger landscape. But because you have a larger mapping, you can deal with it easier. No. It's a larger map. So if it's really no go there, you can just find another. If you always go through the same road, it's just very dangerous, maybe you can find another pathway around it, which doesn't mean that you're escaping from something, right? You have to study a lot in peace how you're rewiring. So when we said, I teach you a poem, right, here, and then I swap these lines, and then I swap this word and that word, opposite. Once it is wired, how much time is going to take you? This is a lot adding to your cognitive reserve for old age. There we can study certain mechanics. There you can study more who you are. So you created these, not models, but situations, and in this situation you study characteristic of the person. And more likely, the way he's solving or not solving that particular problem will appear even in more traumatic situations. So that will be probably also the way to solve it. If you find it, how it is in this less, you don't always have to work on that particular problem. You work on something else, and they will figure it out. They will make the application. So you even don't have to mention sometimes. And that's also very beautiful. So you work indirectly. Not sure if my English is sufficient enough to explain these processes, but
Does anybody feel like Jozef is not explaining properly?
Crystal clear.
We got you.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm very fascinated by your approach to teaching, and I'm fascinated by. I don't see you as a teacher. I see you as a master in the old sense.
Mm-hmm.
When you look back at the masters, they had apprentices, and a lot of their teaching was self-directed, but they would, through their teaching, create a second wave of other masters who could then share whatever is coming to them. And I'm curious, in that sense, who are the masters that inspire you? Or a better question may be, what is it that you're inspired by in your favorite masters in terms of how they choose to spread their knowledge?
No, because we were talking about that yesterday, right? I mentioned some people. Now, do we want to talk about these masters that are in a big pedestal, or we want to talk about the masters that are around us, like the Milan, the guy?
The question means, I would be happy if your answer didn't even contain a name.
Yeah.
I'm curious of like what inspires you in how to teach. Like, do you want apprentices? Do you want to build up your what pushes you in that sense? What's your vision?
So I talk better?
You may need
Is
that.
this a point? I may need that. I know that might look really bad on the camera. Is that always when he needs to talk, he needs a little bit sip of the alcohol. Now he's getting in the mood. And so I should be always doing it like from Miller. That's what gets me going, you know. That's what gets me going.
I think it's fine.
I like people. I like people around that they put themselves strongly in a practice. I cannot say no. I like it. I like that someone puts an effort to learn something that I believe in. It's beautiful feeling that it makes sense for some people. But I do not reinforce it. Like I do not support it. So I don't give a feeling like if you do that you're gonna get that or you're gonna be part of a special inner circle or anything. I don't like to give that special role to anyone. It in my experience, it always corrupted. It always corrupted. So it has to be. I would like it to be a self-organized system. If it appears that someone is around for a longer period of time, that's great. If it appears not, it's also great. Although I would really like that someone can carry on and build something greater on top of it. That would be cool. That would be great. I feel like Linda said it very good. You know, she can simplify very well the things. She said people were asking us, could you teach us how to do dance? And Linda said, I cannot teach that to anyone. I said, yeah, but maybe we can arrange some kind of lineup of things. She said, there is nothing like that. I am refusing to do that. Only what will help you to solve the problem is dancing. You want to dance better? Dance all the time. You want to be a good fighter? Fight every day. You want to be a good basketball player? Play basketball all the time. Don't do anything else. Within that game, find the whole world. Find the varieties that will make you better in what you love to do. If you don't put love to it, there is no program for it. There is no program. Dance. I was asking her, how was your dancing, Linda? Because I learned the most about dancing from Linda, and she's amazing, even if she's my wife, and I mean, I could say a lot of jokes about that, but she's really great. But she's dancing all the time. She's dancing. We were saying with Michael, yes, she was a champion in sport gymnastics. She finished at 11 o'clock in the evening. She comes home, and before she sleeps, she has a doll, and she's still playing the gymnastics exercises. And she wakes up and they ask her and her sister, they always took a gold and silver, always, or one or another. So they ask their father, could you make us the bar? Could you make us the monozigo? I would say the uneven bars. So could you make it for us? So they would wake up and they would be walking on it. It was only that. There was nothing else. They were sick by it, but good sick. They loved it. They wanted to sleep in the gym. Please, can we sleep in the gym? She was telling me they wanted to sleep in the gym. They didn't want to go to sleep in home. They didn't care their hunger. They wanted to sleep in the gym so they could wake up, they could have another training and they go to school. It wasn't a problem for her that she was training 6 hours a day. She wasn't tired, she was inspired. When she was dancing, it was the same, it's healthily obsessive about it. Dancing all the time, it's always dancing, but it doesn't close it, it opens up. When I asked Ilias Iliadis, he was considered for 12 years between 7 best grapplers in the world. 12 years, no one ever done that. He was 17 and he beat all the best judokas in the world. He was an Olympic champion. And I asked him, how was it? He says, I was a sickly child. And I said, what do you mean? I love it so much I had to do it all the time. He put a love into it. There was one very good Greek fighter. And the teacher showed him a crochet. And he says, what is this movement? I said, that's crochet. Crochet? He went home, he didn't sleep, and for 24 hours he was doing crochet. Because he liked it so much. And that was his best hit. He loved it. There's so much love in it that you cannot stop doing it. And that would be similar with our practice. I would be always going from sculpting to grappling, to striking, to zero forms, from grappling to dancing, from dancing to storytelling, and it would always be mingling. And I couldn't get out of it. Linda is saying, what are you doing again? Are you writing again the fight? What is fighting monkey? Because I was like, what is fighting monkey? What is fighting? So I write something, and I write it in pencil. And next day I look and I say, oh, it's not that, wait a minute. And you write it again. And she's just looking, oh, you poor guy, you're just looping there, the same thing. But it doesn't let me be. It bothers me all the time. So what is that thing? Is it longevity? You want that people live longer? I said, no, I don't want that they live longer. I want that it is quality of life. And then next day I say, no, it's not only the quality of life. I really want to be here for a really long time. If I could live 150 years, I would be here for 150 years. Okay, so it is really the longevity. This is what I want. And then you say, no, and it is martial arts. And next day you say, no, it is not martial arts. It's really the dancing is the thing. Because Linda said, if you don't do dancing, you will age crazily. So yes, it is dancing. So for a week it is a dancing. And you say, oh, but dancing, like you do whatever, and this really doesn't mean anything. But when you punch someone's face, this is so satisfying. So it is really much more about competition. And then you say, no competition, it's really about me. And you go, and you're floating, so it always mingles. And somehow one thing pushes the other, one supports the other. And it's never that one thing. And so I will be always coming and rewriting. And if you see my books, it's really crazy. So I ask my friend, she's helping me to rewrite my notes. And she goes like this. You wrote it twice. Okay. Then she goes further and says, that looks like you wrote it third time. So it's like, something has to be clean. And so I'm cleaning it. This is what that Korean boy said. Wake up, clean your room. And I didn't. But Linda when I always say this story, Linda goes like, yeah. Because I always say about piling the things, cleaning up. And in the home, it always makes me nervous when she says, can you put things in order? And say, let me be, I'm busy with something else. So that Korean friend, he said, wake up clean. I don't do it, but I know it's necessary. And before you go to sleep, also clean. And your life will straighten up. So this is what I would be doing. So I don't know. That would be my answer to that.
So Jozef, what is fighting monkey?
I think it's for the others to decide. Michael said others will solve it for me. and I have good people around me, so they will manage to. I get someone writes it and I say, geez, it sounds better than I write it. It's maybe because I'm reading it, I'm so overcritical. Fighting Monkey is it's an open platform for exploration without trying to sound too holy or too mastery, right? And it always flows as it needs. So if any valuable information comes in, it will update everything inside. So if I say these 6 things are the most important, but if something else comes in and I think like, oh, I could say something else, I will honestly write it back and I inform everyone that I updated it. There was one student, he said, yeah, Jozef turned it 4 times, he already changed it. And I said, what do you expect? That because I said it 4 years ago that I cannot change it? Don't put that pressure on me. It doesn't mean I said it then that it must be true also today. It has changed. I have a better model. Don't physicists try to find a better equation about the universe? They were so wrong. And so you are trying to find a better theory of everything. This is what you do. I don't want to get stuck. Because I said it, I will not discredit myself. Just because I found a better formulation.
Just compare it to the iPhone, people will be happy. They don't just have one, they came out with the 8. It just keeps getting better.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean the 7 was bad, it just means the 8's new and improved.
We're at 10 now, man.
I like to be at least 2 or 3 behind.
Hey, what happened to the bug spray? Did it land?
Oh, yeah. How do you guys feel about slowly wrapping up? Any last questions? Okay.
Yeah, I of course want to say thank you to you, and thank you to both of you for running this program. My question was a little bit about Michael, actually, and like you said, you don't really take on many apprentices, and I don't want to put labels on things, but I sense that you see something in Michael, and he was definitely an asset to this organization. I'd be curious if you could share a couple of words of what you see in Michael and your relationship with him.
Go on.
More than anything else, I found the honesty in Michael, more in many other people. He never really tried to please me or anything. When we always meet, we do a Phoenix project. Phoenix project is when we meet in a car and he gives me very tough questions about the practice. So it makes me overthink. So he makes me improve. So this is a very good sign. He's not just a follower. Yes, he's a follower, but he also has his own independent mind. And I say, oh, Michael, well, how about you maybe be on the level of becoming like a fighting monkey teacher? And he would say, no, I don't want. Maybe I don't want to be just a follower. What if I do something wrong or whatever? So I find a lot of honesty in that. So that gives me a good trust. So that's about the Michael. He doesn't have everything that I would like that he has, but I don't blame him because I need to create for people that follow, I need to create a better opportunity to stay with us longer. When we were teaching kids dancing with Linda, and they came out and everyone was asking with whom you've been training, we've been extremely proud. And I would like to create a similar circumstances. So I would like to offer for Michael and other people that are intelligent enough to, everyone is intelligent enough, to create an opportunities to stay longer and having more access to information. So this is what we would be working on together. Decentralizing it and having people around that I trust. So we would not be doing certification. So when you are ready, and it might come one day or it might never come. And so these people that are kind of associated with Fighting Monkey are very high quality people, I believe. High quality people. So that honesty is the most valuable thing. And Michael is still educating himself much further beyond the scope of Fighting Monkey. So he's still a student, and he brings very good quality information into our research. So he's a valuable asset. He can be better though, because he's so fucking lazy. And so his transitional squads are miserable. But maybe in 10 years' time he will be great in that. Nah, it's not true.
Good.
I have a question. I think it's easy in this environment to sort of take on the curiosity and the exploration, and you're sort of guiding us. I guess my question is, the students or disciples, I guess you could say, of Fighting Monkey, not disciples, no. The students that you see succeed, whether it's ones that return or the ones that you see development and growth in their practice and their training, what do you think separates them from the people that you don't see again? How can people sort of take on what they've learned now and actually continue to do it, and if they want to, make sure that they set up an environment which actually lends itself to
What separates them from the others?
Yeah.
Nothing separates them. Nothing. They just do something else equally good to what we do. Equally good. There is no difference.
Do you think it's an environmental thing, that some have better environments, better partners, better routines?
I don't know what other people do, so I cannot tell what would be the difference. But I understand what you
I
ask.
guess like some people come and they do a seminar and they never come again. They never reintegrate this back into their daily practice or weekly practice.
Some people also do not want to be exposed to students, especially the most known. They would like to come in kind of secret mode, learn, repackage, redo it, and it's complicated for them to be students, and I understand it, and not only that I understand it, I accept it, because that could lead them to trouble in their business maybe, right? Some others, they find it too challenging. They want something more simple in their life, and I have no objection to that. I don't think they're stupid or they don't want to do anything. Yeah, it's overwhelming. And maybe in that period of life, maybe it's really too much, and they have to care about other things. Some people, they don't dare to call me and ask for a discount, and so they will never get it. It's too expensive, but they never called, so they will never get in. They didn't try the communication. I stopped to do things for free. You always have to give me something in return. You give me love in return or whatever, but you don't get it for free because you don't appreciate. So I have changed my attitude, but it doesn't have to be always monetary. But I want that you give me something in return. Your presence or your wish to learn would be a great reward for me, right? So it could be in many different forms. But I am not judgmental about anything. I really don't care also. I can only do what I do. And if it appears that we have 1 million followers, it's great. Because I will create a new possibilities for people to collaborate. I can pay them. I will have physical center. I will invite great people together. And we can maybe propose a great educational system. They will also fail maybe, but was a good try. So it will, like more money or more fame will just allow me to do other things in another scope, in another range. I can call that guy. But if I don't get them, I have to become more creative to get them. So if you don't have money for someone, how are you going to convince them to share their information with them? It's a beautiful challenge. So I have always partners to train. I always convince them to train with me. And it's not the money. I say, I give you something in exchange. What do you like in exchange? I know many things. And they always need something. And so I give it to them, and so they give me their time. They give me the most valuable thing in the world. They give me their time. Like someone is my sparring partner. So I'll be punching them in the face. How incredible! Or they will be punching. So this is I've considered myself being billionaire because I'm so privileged spending time with other human beings. It's incredible. This is the highest value in my life. Nothing else. Because I can have a mansion, but what if I'm alone in it? That could be also brutally excruciating, painful experience. So if million or 3, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Maybe it does, but it doesn't.
Joseph, I have a question that's going to tie in with stuff that we're going to work on tomorrow. So when the body is just got tension in it, the mind has stress.
Yeah.
And when the mind has stress, the body has tension.
Yeah.
And you focus so much on the body, and I know that you pay attention to all kinds of aspects that relate to that. Can you talk to us about mind-body connection?
So there is no body and mind. So there is nothing like that. We use that language, and you understand it very well because I've seen you moving, I've seen you diving. I understand. There is one organism only. In you, there is no separation between body and mind, so you do not have to embody anything. You don't have to create that bridge because there is no bridge. It's just like this, right? So there is no body and mind, because if we create the concept of body and mind, we need to bridge it. And if you need to bridge it, you need to write at least 200 books, and many people have to create a different types of learning processes, how we're going to get it together. But we framed it so wrong, the body and mind, that we are so troubled by it. But if it's everything together, then we have to just question what is the quality of that interconnection between. So there's nothing separated, everything is together, but maybe it's not well organized, right? So that would be the only difference. So this is about body and mind. The other thing is, when I was diving with you, and we didn't have a class, we were just there as friends. If I see so much love for what you do, there is that only one thing, that wish to see. You said there is, I don't know how did you say it. So you dive deep, and there is this blue thing. I don't know if this is what you said. You said say something like, is that space somewhere? I want to see that space. I want to feel that experience. It's an empathic feeling. So for me, there is no breathing problem. There is no technically problem for my swimming. There's only that wish, and I'll be looking at you as much as I can. I will be mimicking it. So you are down and you're there like this. And I'm there like, and I go up, choking off. So next time I will try to mimic, and I will try to mimic the relaxedness. So I am inspired by that story that I see. So for me, there is no division. It's all one thing. And if I get someone who is experienced and who gives so much love into it, it goes all automatic. I was diving today, and I don't know how deep I was, but it was extremely pleasant because my attitude has changed. Before I was diving, and it was really painful experience. There was like I was fighting with something. But you were not fighting with anything, and that influenced me a lot. Pel?
Do you have any hacks for this system? Let's say in your daily life, do you do certain things with your body to produce a certain mental state? And do you do certain things with your mind to have corresponding physical effects to achieve the desired state that you want to be in at a certain time to achieve a desired outcome?
Yeah, I have.
Can you share some of those like hacks, those tips with us? Posture, breathing, I don't know, head position, chin position, spine alignment, hand prep positions, or...
They are not hacks, so they are only, you have to work it out. I'm very secretive about what I do in my home. What could be shared? What could be shared?
Just letting you know, you can also say off the record for anything you'd rather not have on camera.
No, it's just it's private. There are two blue zones. They are very extremely important for me. So it's not that I always respect them, but when I need to arrange something particular in my life, then there is a special zone after my wakening up, and before I go sleep. These are the things that can attune me amazingly for things that I want to do. Then standing practice over the time can give you as much dope as the drug.
Just working on correct alignment, vertical standing.
That can lead into very... I never took drugs, so I can't really tell. But the quality of perception can be multiplied by 4 or 5 times the intensity, without burning my kidneys or without destroying my nerve cells or my brain. It is expanding beautifully, and it's like your brain fires up all at once, something like that. It feels like there is like a New Year, a celebration, you know, when you see this, and it is happening all over. When I was trying to explain what I'm doing sometimes to my student, I say I can get dopamine rush from very gentle adjustment. The sensitivity is so high that if I get one more relaxed breathing, there is a whole another world appearing in front of me. All other practices can be shared because it can be misused, I believe. When someone asks me about the breathing practice, I say there is no breathing practice in our lives. Our body does it better than we do. But on the other hand, I know when you do some good breathing practice, it can awaken you in some other way. But this will stay only with me. That's it.
It's beautiful. Okay, may I just say a few things? This has been great. One idea we had, and thank you so much, Jozef, is that we continue a conversation over dinner, whereby we can transition some things we've discussed in like a full table discussion. I think I'm going to step away from the facilitation role or step in. I'll just sort of gauge. Well, I'll put an idea on the table and you inspired it. Yesterday you were talking with Ivan about just being a father, and I overheard that conversation, and I was really inspired by the fact that fatherhood is such an important thing, an important word, being a father and having been children ourselves. And you were saying something earlier about finding a better theory of everything is what fighting monkey is. And somehow there's a circle full of men, so I thought maybe to put that word on the table, fathers, fatherhood, future fathers, sons, all those words and what it means to constantly evolve and find a better theory, a better way of evolving into this role that you all must embody. It's an idea for a discussion, and Jozef will relax and everybody can participate, and Jozef will step in wherever he feels comfortable doing. Does that feel like it could be interesting? How do we feel? Just want to have a relaxed dinner? This is a check-in. I'm feeling relaxed dinner. I'm feeling discussion.
One thing that I think is interesting is that father is so many different things to so many different people, and so is masculinity. And I think we're going through a really interesting time where these definitions are actually, we're not seeing as much value, and so we're recreating a different world. And so I would actually like to know what it feels like to be a father for Jozef and for Tristan and for Evan, and I don't know if I'm missing any other fathers out there. And Jozef mentioned something like, when I am a father to my children, I want them to be better or different. Like, I want them to evolve past me. And I wonder what that evolution is for us as fathers or new fathers, future fathers. It seems the times are changing. And so I feel like it might be interesting to push that.
Okay.
That's good.
Let's do it. And I also feel like you're better positioned to facilitate that conversation. I would step away from that role. So, dinner.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, we may not need to facilitate it, but maybe we'll just have one conversation at the table. And I think we'll find a natural flow.
Let me find out about how fatherly dinner is.
Okay.
We're going to have dinner, and then,
I want to buy this.
what's that?
Hands in the air.
We're going to have dinner when it's ready, and then we're going to have a little bit of a secret training.
They really made it?
A surprise training. It's not a secret. It's more of a surprise. And I also just want to use this opportunity. This week is about many different things, and Jozef will be leaving tomorrow, and he obviously shared so much with us, and so much in practical things, and I think that's one reason I've always been attracted to this practice. It's not in theory, it's like, how do we communicate in our body when we're doing something on a very physical level. And tomorrow we'll be transitioning into the water with George, who is more of an aquatic mammal than he is a bipedal human.
Bipedal.
And we also have other people here that are also very skilled in many different ways, and we'll be learning from all of them, and we'll continue with Tristan and Michael tomorrow, doing some work with public speaking, for lack of a better word, and I'm looking forward to getting into that work as well. So this is, first of all, I just want to thank Jozef for coming.
Yo, peace.
I know for me, one reason I wanted this to happen because I love training with Jozef, because it's, and I was sharing this with Michael over dinner, I was like, this is designed so you can't get it. This isn't...
Can you write it, please?
Like, this isn't something you can get, and I haven't had that sort of experience in my life before. Are you writing that down?
That really released me, you know? This is something you can't get it. Okay, great.
And I don't know where I was going with that.
Why you invited Jozef?
Oh, but, and also in explaining people, it's just like, just come. Because you can't explain what he does either. It's just like, we don't know. And even when we do, it changes. So, and he changes his mind anyway too, so. I don't know where this will go, but just excited that we had this opportunity this past few days and this week. So I'm very grateful for Jozef and for everyone that did come to see what this is all about and doing this together and partnering up.
Well said.
It was great. I'm very happy I was here. Thank you so much, everyone. It's great. I'm very happy. Thank you.
Yeah. I feel like we could a little applause.